Having managed over 60 crowdfunding campaigns with a phenomenal 83% success rate, there are not many more qualified to explain the fundamentals to a successful crowdfunding campaign than Jes Bailey. Jes will discuss today the different types of crowdfunding, the steps to a successful campaign, and how to avoid the most common mistakes.
Hey everyone, welcome to my section. I'm going to talk to you about crowdfunding and the 6 steps to succeed. If you have any questions throughout this video, then just write them in the YouTube chat box and I'll be there live to answer them as we go through. My email address is at the end as well if you've got any extra questions or want to follow up at all. So first up, who am I? I'm Jes. I run a crowdfunding consultancy called Crowdfund 360. And in 3 years, we've raised nearly £3 million for 62 organisations. Our success rate of crowdfunding is 83%, which means that 83% of our clients reach or surpass their funding goal. And the UK average is just 21%, with some platforms being less than 10%. So we really know what works. We fill that gap. Platforms don't really provide much support for you, and we fill that gap and then we work on their platforms. How do we do this? We run workshops, obviously not really in life right now, but online. We run an 8-part online training course, which goes through all of the stages we'll touch on today. And then also we run campaigns for our clients if they're big campaigns. So in this quick video, we're just going to look at the different types of crowdfunding and what type of organization they're going to work for. We're looking at the 6 steps to a successful campaign because it's not magic. And then a quick look at the common mistakes that people make and how you can avoid them. So first up, what's crowdfunding? I mean, it's kind of obvious, but let's touch on it. So it's the practice of funding a project by raising many small amounts of money from a large number of people within a particular time period. And that bit's so important. We've all got those friends that are like, I'll give you money next week, I'll give you money next week. And then next week never comes. Crowdfunding, you stress that deadline date so that the money comes in before then. It's typically done by the internet. It doesn't need to be done by the internet, but obviously right now, the internet is the only place it can be done. So why crowdfund? If you want to raise money and that's the only thing you want, I tell people don't bother crowdfunding. It's too much stress. But if you want to raise the money and build your audience, increase your email list, social media, awareness, engagement, and build your customer database, crowdfunding is great for you. It's also really great because it markets your organization. You're going to have to get PR. You're going to have to spread the word about what you do. And finally, that's social validation. You've got one screenshot that shows that in 35 days, thousands of people gave you X amount of money. You can't lie about that. Investors are going to love that one screenshot because it's going to show them that what you do works. And that can work for future investment opportunities, future grants, future trust money. That is very clear for investors that you're solving the problem. So there's 6 steps to a crowdfunding campaign, and 5 of them come before you've even launched the campaign. And that's planning, storytelling, building your crowd, the perfect project page, and communicating the campaign. We want to do all of that before you launch the campaign and create all of the content associated with that too. We recommend to do that in a minimum of 8 weeks. Obviously, if you come to us and you've got absolutely no crowd at all, it's going to take a bit longer, but in general, we can do that in that 8-week period. You've then got the actual crowdfunding campaign, which is when you make the money, 5 weeks for optimum chance of success for that. And then afterwards, the follow-up. That lasts until your project is over, until you've spent all the money and had that impact that you needed and wanted. And the reason why that's so important is because why do all this work and then, not tell your customers where the money's gone? Our aim is that 75% of those people that give to your campaign either give again in a future campaign or just become regular donors, regular customers for you. So with regards to that, let's look at the planning. So there's 3 different types of crowdfunding. There's donation-based crowdfunding, rewards-based crowdfunding, and equity-based crowdfunding. Thinking about your own organization, thinking about your own business, which one is going to be best for you? So donation-based crowdfunding, social impact, charity, community group, great. Not good for businesses, because why would I want to give you money and become poorer myself, but make you richer for nothing in return? Psychologically, that's not going to work. It could work right now, COVID-19 style, if your business is really going under and you desperately need this to survive. That's the only way that donation-based crowdfunding can actually work for a business. Other than that, you've got rewards. Rewards is a pre-sale, it's a transaction. It's you're selling electric bikes and I'm buying one before you've actually made them. You're selling fashion clothing or food and I'm buying it, and then I'm going to wait, a few months up to a year in order to get it. You're getting customers for that. So that's obviously a great one if you're a business, if you're in the early stages of your business, or if you're just launching a new product and you're actually quite well established. Equity crowdfunding is when you're looking for investors, everyday investors, people that are going to get a return on their investment. For these ones, you're looking at raising over £100,000. This is all or nothing, only ever all or nothing. And you're going to need a strong financial model in order to do equity crowdfunding. So this isn't ideal for startups in the early stage. You probably want to have about 2 to 3 years of traction to then expand. And that's when you would do equity crowdfunding. So just have a think, which one is going to be best for you? If you want, write it in the comments section, or ask questions. Jess, do you think this one is going to be great for me, etc.? Write it in the comments section and I'll answer. Here's an example of some of the campaigns. So this is a donation-based campaign. Bristol Refugee Rights, it's a charity. Their council funding was cut and they needed to keep their creche and early years centre open for refugee children. Their target was £20,500. They exceeded it by £14,000. They had 342 backers. As an example, if you can see on the side, if you give £25, you can pay for a child to attend one session and be supported by the staff. So you're not getting anything in return, but you know what your money is going towards. This is clearly a donation-based campaign. This is a rewards campaign. So this is Sustainable Fashion Made Easy. Again, their target was €27,500. They raised €30,000 from 221 people. If you pledge €150, you get their suit, which you can see in the picture. Normally it's €250, so obviously you get some discount for making that risky judgment and giving to a crowdfunding campaign rather than waiting to buy it on their website. So they're getting customers for this. It's not a donation. They're not getting any shares in their business. This one, on the other hand, is an equity campaign. The target was £750,000. They got £877,000. And people are getting shares in return for giving money. As you can see, they've been operating since 2010. They've serviced, 19,000 households. You can see that they're doing pretty well. They've been profitable in 2016, 2017, etc. This, you care much more about the financials for it. Any questions, just write them in the chat. With donation and rewards campaigns, you're thinking, do I want to do flexi funding or do I want to do all or nothing? All or nothing means you only take the money if you reach or surpass your target. So say your target's £50,000. If you raised £49,999, you'd go home with absolutely zero, unless you put that extra pound in at the very end. Flexible funding means you go home with anything. If you raise £10, you take it. If you raise £49,999, you take it. A lot of people ask me, Jess, why would you do all or nothing campaign? It sounds like way more stressful. It is way more stressful, but there are a few psychological reasons to doing it. It makes the audience much more engaged. They want you to succeed. They're going to share it out with their own audiences. But equally, things like this one, for example, if you're converting a bus, you need to buy a bus, you need to convert a bus. Like, buying a bus costs an actual amount of money. If you only raise 75% of your target, you cannot go home with 75% of a bus. So for that reason, you may want to consider to do an all or nothing campaign. If you're buying a property, to turn into a restaurant, things like that, can't buy half the property. You need that full amount of money. So then you might want to do an all or nothing campaign. Whereas other things like this one, this was a charity campaign. I recommend most charity campaigns to do flexi funding. This one, they're making 10 new songs to nurture children. If they only raise 70%, it's much better they make 7 songs than they made 0 songs because they took no money. If they only raise 30%, it's still much better for them to make 3 songs. So for that reason, a flexible funding campaign is obviously preferable. So then have a think, which one would you want to do? Flexi funding or all or nothing? So that obviously comes into the planning, but as well as that, you need to work out your funding goal. You've got to take psychology into consideration. Does your audience feel they've got money to spend? Does your audience care about what you're doing right now? I once saw an ice cream campaign in October. I'm like, dude, no one cares about ice cream in October. Launch that in like April, May. Have you got the time to put into the campaign? Obviously, you've got to plan the content, plan out your crowd, and plan your team as well. Those are the key elements of planning. We'll have a slight look at the crowd, because this is the most boring part of crowdfunding, but also the most important part of crowdfunding. Crowdfunding, 2 words, crowd and funding. You cannot crowdfund without a pre-existing crowd. Take this picture, for example. You've got an empty restaurant and you've got a pretty busy restaurant. Obviously, we can't go to restaurants right now, but imagine we could. You're walking down the street, they both serve the same food. Like, which one are you more likely to go into? Chances are it's the one with people in it. Okay, you've got an element of trust there. You can see that they're looking as though they're enjoying the food, they're having fun. This one empty. Automatically you're thinking, why is it empty? Okay, and it's the same with crowdfunding. If you've got no money in your campaign, like, why should I support you? You haven't even supported yourself. Your mum hasn't even supported you. Your friends haven't even supported you. Like, surely that means that something dodgy is going on. And that is what subconsciously your audience is going to think. And that's where the psychology is so important. So 30% minimum, although I tell all my clients 40% minimum, that's what you need secured before you even launch your campaign. Because if you look at the second one down, 35% has been funded. That green bar, it's looking, it's a bit bigger. And you're thinking, yeah, other people believe in this, 25 people, I could believe in that. Although still, that's only really going to be people that already know you. The only time people that don't know you are going to start really giving money is when you've hit 60%. So that green bar is getting really high, and they're feeling as though they're the £10 that's going to push you over the limit. Their money is really going to make a difference at that point. Okay? So the crowd is very important. You don't launch a crowdfunding campaign until you know at least where 40% of your money is coming from, because otherwise the chance of succeeding is just so low. It's all about herd mentality, fear of missing out, things like that. We're a social group, obviously not really at the moment, but we stick together, and this just adds an extra level of trust with the number of backers that we've got in a campaign. Then the project page is important. They're going to look at this. They're going to give your campaign 4.2 seconds of attention to see whether or not they want to read on and potentially give, or go back to watching cat videos on YouTube or whatever they're up to in their time. So this is so important. Your title has got to be really clear. Your picture for your video, and obviously the first few seconds of your video, have got to be really good. And again, your summary and the amount raised has to be significant. As you can see, this one is it's one of the worst ones I've ever seen. Flight of the Bumblebee. That says absolutely nothing about the fact that they're creating a free restaurant for the homeless staffed by disadvantaged youths. So again, the picture also does not say anything like that. This picture particularly riles me because this is something that everyone sees on a daily basis. And this is something that we're trained to ignore. We're trained to avoid looking at. So if you put this here, automatically my subconscious is trained to ignore it, which if you're trying to draw me into your page is obviously a bad thing to do. But imagine if that picture was, a group of people sat around a restaurant table or in a community center, just like enjoying that communal feeling over shared food, whether they're cutting it all up together or eating it, enjoying a hearty meal. That is a very different picture to what you've got going on here. Equally, even this woman who created the campaign hasn't given money. Her husband, her partner, her friends, her mum, her dad, everyone, like no one has given this campaign money. So why should I, really? Also, it's a all or nothing campaign. So she needs all of that money. Otherwise she cannot make the campaign happen. 15 days left. If I give £10, she's not going to make it happen. Where's she going to get the rest of the money from in that time? So again, that gives me another reason to not give her money. That obviously sounds like a lot that I've just processed, but that's what goes through people's minds in that split second time that they're looking at the campaign. Let's have a look at another one. This one is for a street food business with a social element. Again, food related. Look at this picture. It's so much different to the earlier picture that we saw on the previous campaign. She's in her house, she's cooking. It looks like a kitchen like you or I might have. She looks like a regular person, no one too fancy. You can probably relate to her on that. She already hit her initial funding goal, which is the blue bar, and then the orange bar is a stretch goal. So it's like, this is what I want to do originally, but any more money I raise, I can do this. So that again obviously looks fantastic. 95 supporters, less than £500 from her target and 4 days left. That gives a real sense of excitement, and you know that probably your money is going to help her to smash that target. Here's another one, also from a cafe. Have you seen a theme here? I really love food. This one again, it frustrates me so much. Save Kahalia, Brick Lane. Okay, it's in Brick Lane, London. It's actually a really nice cafe. I've been there, but this picture doesn't show a cafe. It also shows the back of a man's head. Like, what does that have to do with food? Does that draw me in? If I ran this whole webinar with my back of my head to you, would you watch this video or not? Probably not, okay? It's really pushing you away. It's not drawing you in. Also, the video is 6 minutes 19. Like, who has time for that? Video should be maximum 2.5 minutes. Again, 16 days left. They're only on 12%. Are they going to make it? Are they not? Who knows? Probably not at this point. But there's another sense of confusion. In the summary, it says they need a total of £32,000, but their target's only £15,000. So automatically you've got some level of resistance. It's like, well, why? Where's the other £15,000? Where's the other amount of money coming from? They need to make that clear. Probably you'd scroll down and you'd hope that was clear. Otherwise you'd think they clearly got that wrong, got that confused. I don't trust them. And crowdfunding is all about the trust. So really pay attention when you're making your project page. Even if it's a semi-rushed campaign because of coronavirus, people are still going to have the same psychological elements when they're looking at a campaign page. Once you've got that, you obviously need to communicate it. You've got to communicate it to your crowd that you've developed and to any other people further to obviously get you from that 40% up to 100 and above. These are all the main ways that we do marketing and comms. Obviously there's offline ones too, but I did not include them on here because that would be pointless right now. Then you've got the sales funnel, and that's exactly the same with crowdfunding. And that's why we have to do this and start this before the launch of the campaign. You've got to take people from awareness, why you're doing it, what you're doing, why it's important, down to engagement, and then into getting their money. So that pledge section of the triangle, that's your 5 weeks of your campaign. You've got to do the other two before you launch. And that's really great because it means you can test out content, what's working, what's not working, and you can get engagement. If you can't even get an email address from your social media following, how are you going to get their money? Which one is the easiest ask? Okay, with the engagement, working through the asks as easy as possible before you then ask them for the money when the campaign is live. If you're 2 days before launch and your engagement posts are bombing and not doing well, don't launch. Don't launch. Go back, readdress the strategy, readdress your crowd and everything, and then launch later when you've done the work, because you're only going to raise more if you do that. If you launch then, you're clearly not going to raise much. When you ask people for money, they tend not to jump out of the woodwork. In reality, they tend to hide from you. Here's an example of an engagement post. So Golden Hour, they make sunglasses. Sunglasses are coming soon. Sign up at the website to get 50% off the launch date. So there's a reason to sign up. There's a reason to give the email address. Then there's a teaser video. Now they can see they've had 184 views. So that's the awareness. 184 people watched the video, are aware. And then they had 15 likes, 5 shares and 3 comments. So likes are obviously the easiest thing to give. It's just a click. So obviously there's probably going to be more of them. Then you've got 5 shares, click share, and 3 comments. Comments are a bit harder. You've got to actually type things, okay? So as you can see, you've already lost people. There weren't 184 views and then even more engagement. No, that just doesn't work that way. So you're always losing people, which is why you need such a variety and plethora of content out there so that people can always see it and engage. If you just put this out, you're obviously not going to get much attention. When you launch the campaign, not many people are going to know about it, only 184. So you've got to have it from all the different angles. Once your campaign is live, monitor, okay? How much money do you get each day, each week? How many visits to the page? Where are all of that money coming from? If you don't do this, you don't know what's working. And then in reality, you're just doing a scattergun approach. Do this, do it strategically, see what's working, and then continue doing what's working and stop doing what's not working. With all our clients, we give tips of the day. So every day of the week, for your whole crowdfunding campaign, you get a new tip associated with where you are on that timeline of your campaign. And that's just to keep you motivated. It keeps you motivated. It keeps your backers engaged. It keeps the variety of content and strategies upbeat, unique, and varied. What we don't want is just the same old posts every day, because then people are going to get fatigued and they're just going to start to ignore you and your campaign. So what are the common mistakes that I see? Well, launching too soon. If you launch without writing all of that content, if you launch without building that crowd, you launch too soon, you've then got your campaign and you're still trying to bring people into that awareness stage when really you should be trying to get the money from them. But by the time they get down there, it's too late, the campaign has ended. If your crowd's not there or your crowd isn't prepared, as I said, those are the biggest mistakes I see. Another thing I really see is assuming that people care. Everyone has problems. Everyone has issues. Everyone has things that are important to them. And yours might not be at the top of their list. And they might not know everything about it that you know. So don't just assume people want to support you because you're a local business, or assume that they care whether or not you survive this. Chances are they've got their own problems going on. So really, really think, why would they give? Always think about the audience. What do they want? Why would they give? Why would they support? It's not really about me. It's all about them. Make sure your financials are accurate. If people don't trust the financials, if they think, if you think it's going to be £50,000 to, buy a coffee machine for your coffee shop, people are just going to be like, no. And then they've lost trust in you. It's all about the trust. So really focus on getting those financials as accurate as possible when you're putting them out there. Also, just don't be money centric. Think about crowdfunding as a way to build a community and build a tribe, a family of people that are going to support you. Get ambassadors for your business. Generate you content from their great experience with you. If you think about crowdfunding like that, and then the money, great side extra, that is a much more successful way to go into a crowdfunding campaign than just being like money, money, money. No one wants to feel like you only want to be their friend because of their money, right? So make sure that you treat your backers, treat your potential crowdfunding pledgers like they're more than just the dollar signs. And finally, don't be desperate. In this time of coronavirus, there's probably going to be a lot of campaigns coming up out of desperation, fine. But make sure that you don't type desperate emails, you don't type desperate posts. When you do that, people just stay away from you, okay? It's the same in everything. If you act desperate, people are not want to get involved. So again, writing all of that content before you launch means that you're not panicking too much at that point, okay? Writing it when, there's 3 days to go and you're 10 grand off your target, that's going to be a very different tone of voice, which, emotionally, you're probably not going to be able to get out of because you're so invested in the campaign. So really focus on all of the other aspects and the uplifting and the inspiring rather than the desperation, because crowdfunding only works when it's uplifting and inspiring. There are obviously other common mistakes too, but don't have time to go through them now. So that is everything from me about crowdfunding. It's a lot to get through and I don't have time to do it all right now. If you've got any other questions, obviously write them in the chat. I'll be there for a while to answer them. But otherwise, that's my email address. That's my Twitter handle. That's my website. Just send me over a message and we can talk about how crowdfunding is going to be suitable for your business or organization, or when would be a good time to launch, any of those sorts of things. Enjoy the rest of the day and the rest of the videos, and thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching, and also thank you very much for inviting me to come and do this talk.